introducing you that you want the audience to know about?
Sure, like you said, I did drop out of high school, but I did end up going back and going to college and everything, and I got my MBA degree. So I took the long way, to get to where I thought I needed to be. And right now I'm doing some wholesaling in multiple states, and I have a portfolio in Illinois and looking to build and expand on that, man. So that's what we're doing.
Sweet, sweet. Well, I got your bio and I noticed you're from Illinois. So, two of the prerequisites to be on the show, you got to be a Bears fan and a Cubs fan. So, hope
Wow. Well, I missed both of those, man. I'm a Packers fan and a White Sox fan.
my goodness. Wow, wow. I actually grew up watching them because I grew up I was born in Gary, Indiana, and
Okay.
then the family moved to Valparaiso, but we used to take the school bus to go to the White Comiskey Park back in the day. So
I know Gary GI very well. My cousins and uncles and stuff grew up in there.
excellent, excellent. So how are you staying positive right now, Marcus, during all the corona and like everything going on out there?
Well, we still have deals that's going on. We have three in escrow right now. I mean, some of the things that I've been telling people is you still have to look, on the bright side. There's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be adversity, but it's how you overcome those challenges and adversity and how you look at them. It all depends on your perspective, because if you're looking at the negative, that's what you're going to get. But you can always find the silver lining in everything that's going on.
1000%. So your journey began back in the farm, 49 acres back in Chicago, I believe. Is that
Yep,
where?
yep. So just south of Chicago, about an hour south of Chicago. Grew up on a 49-acre farm, and that's where I learned my work ethic from my dad and grandfather, man.
Yeah, 100%. So they flipped a home when you were in your teens, and you were even doing demo back then, I understand?
Yeah, actually, it was my mom. My mom, she was actually the entrepreneur of the family. She was working a great state job, making good money at the time, and basically the Lord told her to walk off her job and start doing real estate. And I was like, okay, that's really different, but at the time I think I was like 12, 13 years old, so I didn't know any different. And she bought two houses. One was a fire damaged house and one was just like this little ratty vacant house. And we didn't know what she was doing, but she had us out there with the contractors, ripping stuff out. And the only thing we saw was, man, this is just additional work for us, over the summer. It's supposed to be summer break. We're supposed to have fun, but we were ripping out houses, countertops and cabinets and stuff. Um, but she held on to that property, rented it out, and like 3 years later, she sold them. And she showed us, the money that she made on the property in addition to all of the rent. So that kind of got our wheels spinning on what she was doing.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing back then because, like you said, no one was flipping houses back then. Now, like with HGTV and everyone seeing the media, like everyone wants to get into flipping. So it's interesting story how that occurred in your life. Um, so, what was it a choice to drop out of high school, or did you have to work right away, or
No, I was just real immature. I was immature, one, and then two, I just couldn't grasp what they were teaching. I didn't understand why I needed to know, you know, Christopher Columbus. Yeah, I know he came over here and started found the continent and everything like that. But I mean, I was like, how can I make money? How can I make money? So I dropped out of school and took the wrong path. I always been a hustler, always knew how to make money. So I was like, well, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get out here and I'm just gonna make some money. And like I said, it took me down a dark path, you know, with the streets and everything like that. But then got my mind together and went to college and ended up with my degree. And I say ended up with my degree because uh, I didn't have to do as much work because it seems like it just came easy. So that's why I always say, you know, I contributed some of my dropping out to just me being immature.
Yeah, for sure. So, what would you tell some of the young viewers right now? Because, you know, I even know for my son who's 14, like he sees these guys on the internet making six figures, making a lot of money without a college degree. Some may have dropped out of high school. Like, what do you tell looking back on someone that's 16, 15, 18, whatever, on education?
One thing I would say is, and I know it's hard for somebody at 15, 16 years old to know what they want to do, but it's just kind of knowing and seeing, knowing that inner spirit that you have. What do you want to do? Because even though I didn't know what I wanted to do, I knew I loved real estate, you know, so I didn't know that you didn't have to have a college degree or anything like that. So I would tell somebody 15, 16 years old right now is really take some time to try and get some kind of hint of what you want to do. So naturally, if you want to be a doctor, a physician, or something like that, you need the education, you know. But if you want to be a business owner or a developer or something like that, you don't necessarily need the education. So don't go in a hole, you know, $200,000 with a degree, and you're not going to use it.
1,000%. So there's different types of education, right?
Yep.
Streets, book smart, or you could be both. One thing I heard you say is your work ethic has never changed. So whether it's the Midwest work ethic, as I'd like to call it, or just like inner drive, I mean, have you always been a hustler or like a driver?
Always, always. I hate to settle and sit still. That's one of the things my wife tells me. She says, "Hey, when you're sitting down, just turn your brain off for a second." And I'm like, I can't. You know, I'm always have ideas, something that I want to do, some endeavor. And once I can see it up here, then it's like, okay, let me physically go and do it. So I just always had that work ethic, always.
Yeah, and I, like yourself, teach students, but what I tell students is I can teach the game, but I can't teach you work ethic, drive, motivation. I'm not going to call you at 5 a.m., get you out of bed. It's
Yep, yep.
got to have that drive to succeed. Um, so you went, let's see, you went out of school, you dropped out, you hustled on the streets or whatever you
Yep.
did. Realize that this shit's not for me. I really need to provide. I need to grow up. I need to get out of the scene that's not helping me.
Yeah, so basically, between 18 and like 23, so those 5 years, yeah, I was on the streets, I was hustling. I was selling everything that I can get my hands on. You know, if it was from drugs to car parts to, you know, furniture, whatever it was, you know. And I kind of focused on drugs, but I wasn't a good drug dealer at all, you know. And that was just because of the way that I was brought up, you know, and I knew that, you know, it wasn't the right thing to do. It wasn't ethical. So I always had a sweet spot. So in the streets, you really couldn't have that. So I just then tailored that work ethic, and I knew, hey, I got to do something different. So my brother, he went off to college. So I kind of followed him, and then that's when everything just started clicking. And you know, got my bachelor's degree. Well, got my GED before my high school graduation class even graduated. So it was like, okay, I dropped out of school, and then I said, well, let me just go and take this GED test and see if I pass it. Passed it with no problems, you know. So I knew it wasn't. I didn't have the intellectual capacity. It was just that I didn't want to do it. And after that, you know, I went to college. My mom had the business. We started working with her, and then I just wanted to take it to another level. That's all.
Sweet. So Was your mom your biggest role model, Marcus, in getting into real estate? Um, or who really taught you the game of, entrepreneur real estate?
Well, my mom, she taught me, she gave me the entry level basic 101 because she didn't know what she was doing. She
Uh,
was just doing things through trial and error. She just knew, that this was something that she wanted to do. And when I moved from Illinois to Arizona, I came out here. I was promised a job. Um, that job fell through, so I had to find something to do in order to make ends meet. So I had to go back to the hustle mentality. So I was on my drive over here, I was listening to Bigger Pockets, and they were talking about wholesaling. So I said, okay, well, I got some experience with real estate. Um, Let me try this. Got out here to Phoenix, didn't know the West Valley from the East Valley from anything, but I just started a small direct mail letter campaign and made a huge mistake on the first one, but one of my cash buyers ended up pulling me in, and he was like, hey, look, what this deal that you put out is not a deal. Got it under contract for basically, the ARV, the after repair value. And he said, well, come in, let me show you how to do it. I see the hustler mentality in you. So I sat under him. Big shout outs to Gabe Ostrowski and Venture REI. So I
oh
worked
yeah,
with him.
right.
Yeah, man. So Gabe really taught me, how to do everything out here. And actually, me and him, we partner on doing virtual deals in Chicago. So I can really say that, he was a big influence in my real estate career out here in Arizona.
That's awesome, Marcus. So, yeah, like yourself, I had a mentor I was doing it, probably doing all the wrong things in the beginning, but I met a guy who really helped me understand, and we became joint venture partners on a lot of deals together. So that's a great lesson for students listening, people listening. Like, go out, provide value, whether it's a Gabe, whether it's a Marcus, whether it's a Flip, and then learn from them and possibly JV. You never know what it's going to turn into.
Yeah. And you know what? I do a lot of, 15-minute free consultations. And a lot of newbies that's getting started, they always ask, well, how can I get started? How can I get started? And I say, you have to take action on some things, and then things will start to line up. Just like me, I didn't know what I was doing. I was in a completely different state, different city, didn't know anything, but I took action. And because of those action steps, things started coming to me. I found Gabe. I started doing acquisitions for them. So then I really started learning the ground rules. And, I tell people it's, yeah, you don't have to go out and spend $30,000, $40,000 for a mentor, but you got to have somebody that's going to be able to show you the right way. And that's what I'm all about, is doing it the right way. So if that's one thing newbies need to know, is you got to have somebody that's going to show you.
Awesome. So you do free 15-minute consultations to talk to someone that's new or wants to get into it?
Yep, absolutely. So if somebody is looking to learn how to wholesale or looking to learn how to do real estate investing, they can go to marcusemaloney.com and they'll get on the phone with me, not a representative or anything like that. And a lot of the stuff that I give away, man, is just, by the grace of God, I learned quite a bit, and I love to share it.
That's awesome, Marcus. So, again, hard work ethic, action has made anyone successful that I talk to, just like yourself. I mean, those two things, if you got those, guys, the third thing is get someone in your corner. So the
Yep.
sky's the limit in this game of real estate. And there's very low entry level. If you have that desire and work ethic, figures and whatever. That's amazing that people can learn the real estate so quickly. But I saw a guy that think it's quick, easy money. Can you expound on that a little bit, Marcus?
Okay, so one thing is, a lot of people teach, do this with absolutely no money. It's very easy. The barrier to entry is not high, but you have to put in that sweat equity. You have to work. People look at people on, Instagram and Facebook, and they cutting checks and all of this kind of stuff, but they're not looking at what's happening on the back end. The days, the hours, the weeks of getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, comping hundreds of properties, putting in hundreds of offers, things like that, getting cussed out, by sellers that's not interested in selling, So you got to have thick skin, and it's not going to come easy. Anything that comes easy in life, evidently at some point you end up losing that. So it's those who put that work in, that's driving to these properties, that's comping properties. Those are the ones that become successful. So guys, don't get caught up with the get rich quick. You could do it, from just sitting behind your computer. It takes work.
1,000%. And I love what you said, Marcus, about your relationship with Gabe. So you were pretty much put in sweat equity because you knew Gabe was a player. Gabe was making shit happen. So, that is one of the quickest steps to cut the curve. Get with someone like Gabe, get with Marcus, get with Flip, because, again, I could go try to do it all alone without any mentor, but guess what? I'll probably end up quitting, or it's going to take me 10 years to get to that end goal there.
Yeah. And one thing I always want to say is that, a lot of people getting started, they always think, well, I don't need a mentor, I don't need a coach. But I'm looking at every high achiever, every high level, professional has a coach, has a mentor. Tom Brady wouldn't be who he is without Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick wouldn't be who he is, without working for Andy Reid and stuff like that. So everybody has to have somebody that can impart that wisdom into them and show them the different ways. Yes, you can learn it on your own, but it may take you 3 years to do it versus if you had a mentor or a coach that can get you up and going in 6 months.
1,000%. That's why we started the show, Cut the Curve. So I interview mogul on Cut the Curve. What I want to do is help others, like through our interviews, through talking to moguls, through talking to mentors, through talking to serial entrepreneurs. And it's been a consistent theme, Marcus. They all have mentors or coaches, whether today most of them still have coaches at different levels, or when they first started, because you wouldn't go into the gym without you could work out by yourself. I used to bodybuild and stuff, but until I met my workout partner, that's when I made those biggest gains.
Yeah. And it's because of accountability. I mean, that's the big thing, because you can have that drive and that motivation to get out there and do it, and you can do it and do it. But it's those times when you start feeling like, hey, am I really making progress? Should I really be doing this? When you start to second guess yourself, that's when that coach comes in and say, hey, okay, I see you starting to plateau here. Let's work in this area and try and build this up, and keep giving them that spark of inspiration to keep going.
Oh, for sure, because there's days you don't want to do this, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Even now, there's like, oh man, I gotta wake up and I gotta make 20 calls, because every day you still gotta get better and better. So I have a team. I have guys that hold me accountable, which I couldn't do it without them, for sure.
Yep. So I'll give you an example. Just like yesterday, we have a deal in escrow in Chicago, and one of the buyers called and said, hey, you know what? I'm using a hard money loan. We got the appraisal. It didn't appraise out, right? Which was total BS, on an appraiser's part, because He was from the north side of Chicago trying to appraise a property in the south side, didn't know the neighborhoods or anything like that, so my deal is kind of in limbo, and then some other things happened along the day. And I was like, man, this is just a terrible day. I wanted to stop and everything like that, but thank God I got a wife, that's supportive. And she was like, hey, this is one day you're going to get things going, things will pick up. And then later on that day, that same buyer called and was like, hey, you know what, I'm going with a different lender. You're going to get the property reappraised. So he's still vested in the deal. And we're going to get it closed out for sure.
Again, problems, but you find a solution to that problem, and you do whatever it takes to close it. But sometimes you can't find the solution, and you just got to keep moving. Like,
Yep.
you get down, keep moving forward. So that's great advice out there, Marcus. How did you get into the virtual wholesale? Because that's something that a lot of viewers don't know about. That's something I personally have never done, and I'm learning more about it. How did Gabe and you start doing that, or how did that all come about?
No, it was actually on accident. Tell you the truth, I was doing deals here in Arizona and Phoenix, and just like you, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and I'm just posting information. And then my wife's best friend, called and was like, hey, my mom passed away some years ago. I have been renting out the house, but now I need to go ahead and sell it. She told me what she wanted for the property. I ran comps, and I'm like, there's a lot of meat on this bone, but at the time I was still a little leery because I'm like, if this goes south, my wife and her best friend are going to kill me, so I was a little hesitant about doing it, but, and I was transparent. I told her, what we're going to do. I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to try and find you a buyer on this property. And then lo and behold, we ended up doing it. And, I made like 25 grand on that deal. And I said, you know what, if I could do it that one time, let me try it again. So I started doing some mail out there, and my phone just started ringing off the hook. And then I had, one of my best buddies, he would walk the properties, and I was coaching him and teaching him. He was walking the properties, and we just started getting these things under contract. And I do a fun fact Friday every Friday. And one of the things that I was telling people was, everyone is looking for leads, looking for buyers and stuff like that. I say, contact your local title companies. If you're working with a title company, they have a marketing department that has all of that information. So I use Fidelity Title here in Arizona. They're national. They have Fidelity Title in Chicago. So I contacted my agent here in Phoenix, and I said, hey, hook me up with somebody in Chicago at Fidelity. Did that hookup, and then they started sending me all of the cash sales that sold in a certain area within the last year. So I skip traced all of those, contacted all of those people. They gave me, they started sending me seller leads free. Now all of this is free, where people go out and spend thousands of dollars for leads. I was getting these leads free, and I just started getting these deals and then sending them out to those buyers, and it just started working like clockwork. To the point where I was spending most of my time on deals in Chicago versus here in Arizona, because in Arizona, the market took a run up. You had OfferPad and everyone else here. Well, in Chicago, the market is still just turning around. So you can buy a house for $40,000 under contract, but the house 2 doors down was flipped and sold for $175,000. So I was like, I'm gonna focus my time and energy here, and that's what I've been doing, and we've been making a killing out there.
That's beautiful, Marcus. So I lived for like 3 months down at 555 West Madison in Presidential Towers. I want to get a condo down in the city. So if you find some condos down there, let me know.
Actually, you know what? We probably need to talk, because I'm working on one that's in the Magnificent Mile It's some money, but I think we're gonna get it for about 50 cents on the dollar.
Sweet. Yeah, I love that area. Chicago, I mean, there's nothing like the food, the culture. It's there. I
Oh
always
yeah,
go back there.
it's
There's
amazing.
stuff.
It's amazing. I love it.
A couple more questions, Marcus. So right now with the pandemic, the corona, has your business shifted or pivoted at all in pre-corona